Today, bullying allegations hang over Westminster this morning. In a dramatic development last night, the Labour Party announced that Shadow Work and Pension Secretary Debbie Abrahams had stood down from her front bench role while bullying allegations against her were investigated. She refutes the claims and hit back at Jeremy Corbyn's office, accusing them of 10 months of aggressive and intimidating behaviour. Well, at the same time, some MPs are calling for an investigation into the Speaker John Bercow after allegations surfaced about his treatment of a clerk in his office. He also strongly denies the claims. Well, our political correspondent Ben Wright can tell us more. Ben, can we go back to the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary, Debbie Abrahams, before she was either forced to step aside or decided to step aside herself? What's actually going on here?
Well, it was very strange. Last night, suddenly the Labour Party put out a statement saying that Debbie Abrahams had stepped aside while this employment issue was investigated. And then almost immediately there was a counter statement by Debbie Abrahams, completely taking Labour's argument or statement apart. She said that she had not agreed to stand down. She completely denied any allegations of bullying, and that she accused then some people in the Labour leader's office of aggressive, intimidating and wholly unprofessional behaviour. She said they demonstrated a bullying culture of the worst kind. So she hit back really strongly. This thing erupted out of the blue, and what had clearly been an internal Labour Party matter has suddenly become public in the most sort of unedifying way, really.
Have they fallen out, Debbie Abrahams and the leader's office?
Well, I think they clearly have. If you take Debbie Abrahams' statement at face value, there's a real problem here. But she has been a member of Jeremy Corbyn's team, we think relatively harmoniously, for the last 2 or 3 years. She's been the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary for 2 years, seemed to be working well as part of the team. But something has gone very awry in how the Labour Party internally are handling what I'm told are more than 2 complaints, independent, separate complaints about Debbie Abrahams' behaviour. As I said, she completely denies any allegations at all that she has been involved in bullying. There's been no reaction really today about this. We haven't heard from Jeremy Corbyn or Debbie Abrahams. I noticed, though, just in the last few minutes that Andy Burnham, Labour's mayor in Greater Manchester, tweeted that Debbie, he said, deserves much better than this and has been very loyal to the party over years. So just some sympathy there from a senior figure in the party. And
briefly on John Bercow, the Speaker, he's also failing accusations of bullying, which he has denied. What's the development there?
Well, you'll remember last week, Newsnight ran a very big report on, I think, 3 MPs, one of whom was John Bercow, accused of bullying. All 3 had denied those allegations very strongly. But there is some pressure today on John Bercow. So a Tory MP, Andrew Bridgen, has put down an early day motion, effectively a parliamentary petition, questioning whether John Bercow can continue in his job as Speaker. Mr Bridgen has been a very long-term critic of John Bercow, it must be said. Separately, the co-leader of the Green Party, Caroline Lucas, is hoping to get an urgent question called today because she wants the complaints made by the former clerks to be heard about on the floor of the chamber. She wants this discussed, and she wants clerks to be included in the code of conduct that is being pushed through the Commons now in response to what have been months now of accusations of harassment and bullying on the parliamentary estate.
Ben Wright, thank you very much. Well, as if by magic, joining us here in the studio is Andrew Bridgen, whom Ben mentioned. He is the architect of a motion in the House of Commons which calls for an independent inquiry into the Speaker's actions. Welcome to the Daily Politics.
Pleasure.
Is this effectively a sort of no-confidence motion in the Speaker?
No, I'm hoping it's a motion that the House can get behind, even those who are avid fans of John Bercow. The Speaker has denied all the allegations against him, so it's an opportunity for him to clear his name.
Right. Isn't this just an excuse to get rid of him? You don't like him. You've always made that absolutely clear. If he's denied the allegations...
I'm not sure he's acting on me, to be honest.
Well, that may be the case, but you're the one, obviously, who is putting your weight behind this no-confidence motion in him. Is it not just an attempt to get rid of him?
No, I think we're hearing lots of allegations at the moment around Parliament, around harassment and bullying. It's important. The Speaker is absolutely crucial to the culture of the House of Commons. I don't think we do have a culture of endemic bullying and harassment, but the Speaker's got to be beyond reproach, and an independent investigation into these allegations against him, which are very serious, I think would clear the air.
Right, would you support this motion, Tom?
Well, I'm very supportive of the Speaker. I think he's done an excellent job in making sure that backbenchers are heard, and I actually support Andrea Leadsom's work across the House to make sure that bullying is addressed throughout the House, and I don't think anybody should be above it, and Andrew's right, nobody should be above it, and indeed clerks should be included in it. So look, I'm supporting the work that Andrea and the Cross-Party Commission has done on trying to stop bullying.
But you're not going to sign this motion by your colleague Andrew Bridges?
I have a policy of never signing early day motions, as simple as that.
Oh, right, on the basis of?
On the basis that they don't actually change anything and they cost a bit of money, and so I don't see the point.
Right, well, what is the point?
Well, 158, I think, cross-party MPs signed my early day motion to decriminalise non-payment of the TV licence, and Tom's probably right. As that was scuppered in the House of Lords, perhaps it didn't, but we did get it into the bill at the time, the deregulation bill. And what is the point? I think that it needs to send a clear message from the House that we're not going to tolerate bullying. No one should have to come to work to be bullied or harassed, and that goes for everybody in Parliament, right up to including Mr Speaker, who's particularly important.
Right. Do you agree that any allegations have to be investigated, even if they're denied by somebody like John Bercow?
Well, let's look at John Bercow, because he actually has presided over the introduction of the new processes and code of conduct around harassment and bullying. So I have absolutely no doubt that if a complaint were to be made against him, that he would go through the process. A complaint, Andrew, as I understand it, has yet to be made. And you are well known, decent man that you may be, you are well known to be utterly hostile to Mr Speaker. I think he's been a great Speaker. He's modernised the House. He's brought Parliament back to its rightful sort of position of hearing debate and holding ministers to account. And I don't think that you should be using this to undermine a man in whom you just don't like. I don't know why, but you don't like him.
I can accept that the Speaker has many good points, and there's many of the reforms around the Chamber and the procedures that I am very supportive of, giving backbenchers a voice, getting through the order paper. However, he has many negatives with him as well. I think a Speaker has to be impartial, and I think he's lost that impartiality. When he came out and spoke about him being supporting Remain, when he came out and said that the President of the United States wouldn't be welcome, Donald Trump wouldn't be welcome in Westminster Hall. He's quite entitled to have those views privately.
You are just demonstrating the motivation for putting down that early day motion.
But he has to be impartial.
Nothing to do.
He's quite entitled to have those views.
But hang on a minute. What's that got to do with bullying?
This is nothing to do with the bullying and the harassment. This is to do with your view of Mr Speaker.
Well,
I have a very different view.
The Speaker has
and I'm sure, let me just say this, has a complaint been brought against him? No, it hasn't. If a complaint is brought against him, he will undergo the very processes he himself introduced.
Well, you know full well that Kate Ems has not made a complaint. It's those who worked around her who've observed. She's never, ever made a complaint. And one of the reasons for that is that whistleblowers are treated tremendously badly in the House of Commons, as you both well know.
Right. So what is it you want investigated exactly?
I want the investigation of allegations of bullying that have been levelled against the Speaker to be investigated independently.
Andrew,
well, in which case,
you want to look at whether or not he's been partisan on
No, I don't.
Europe, which in my view he hasn't been as a Remainer. I don't think he has.
But what about these allegations, though,
well,
Margaret Hodge?
Let's go through all of the allegations. The fact we're talking about it, Joe, is really good. You know, 5 years ago, I mean, certainly in but when I was a minister, we managed those situations where there was harassment and bullying. We managed them. The idea that you can now complain and be open about it is a force for good. And there are processes in place, both, I support actually the demand that this should cover clerks of the House as well as people working for MPs. Perfectly sensible idea. And it's a good thing we're talking about these things.
What about Debbie Abrahams, Shadow Work and Pension Secretary? There has been this row of the Labour Party saying that she has to step aside while investigations are carried out about bullying allegations against her. Does she deserve to know exactly what's being levelled against her?
Again, I don't know the details, Joe, so it's a slightly uncomfortable position. Debbie Abrahams has done a good job in highlighting what's gone wrong, particularly with universal credit. I think she has held the government to account on that. If there are allegations, they should be investigated. It's odd that there are now counter-allegations from her against the leader's office. And I have to say, we were told there was going to be a kinder, gentler politics in the Labour Party. I'm not sure whether we're witnessing that. All the allegations should be properly investigated and all people should be held to account.
Just before you go, how many people have signed the early day motion?
I only laid it down. It's EDM 1046. I only laid it down about half an hour ago.
OK, fine. So no one signed it yet so far?
Well, I've signed it.
Well, that's good to know. Andrew Bridgen, thank you very much. Now.